always very difficult to know where to begin. And I think this time I'm going to start with a poem that Sue likes a lot, about St Ives, which I wrote a long time ago, 1970. I'd gone down to Cornwall in 1965 to paint and write. And initially I painted hard, and then I got disillusioned. The writing didn't take off until 1969, when I started comparing folk clubs and found a guitarist who wanted to work with me. And by the end of 1970 we were touring, and in the next year we were masked, and we had a violinist with us, and we were doing supports for Fairport Convention and Steel Ice Band and playing the Marquee Club and doing all sorts of things. But one of the first things that I did was to get involved in a festival in 1970. And in the preparation I thought what a nice idea it would be to have a performance of Undermill Wood at the different places in St Ives that were relevant, so to move it around to the town. Because you see, Dylan Thomas lived in Mousehole, got married in Penzance and was drunk for a long time down there, long enough to soak up Mousehole and to apply it to a village he was creating in his mind, which everybody claims is Larne. I'm convinced that it's Mousehole, but it doesn't matter. But anyhow, what I discovered along the way was that St Ives most definitely wasn't Mousehole. It moved on. It was so much more about tourism. It was so much about, and at that stage, actually, most of the businesses in the town were not run by the Cornish. They were run by people from Birmingham. It was a fascinating change of pace and direction in a town. And so I wrote this poem, which was about the town waking up and going through its day. I wanted to perform it in a head that I conceived called Mouth on the beach, where people would sit on the tongue and I'd be in the throat, and the back of the throat would be a perspex, pink perspex screen, so that you could see through to the landscape beyond, to the seascape beyond. And then I wanted somebody out there throwing mackerel up to the gulls so that they come down in big flaps, you know. But really the poem doesn't justify anything like that, it's much too short. This is it. And it never happened. Ambush and dreams, you know, they never get fulfilled.
Do you ever do it in the Methodist chapel?
So there's a good idea. Here we go, this is it. 7 o'clock. The sea comes to feed. She feeds on the rock of the cliff and drinks from the stream and slips back over the shingle sands, and slips back over the shingle sands to feed on the rock of the cliff. The sea is lapping against the cliffs, and under the water the soft foot stomachs are feeding in the green salt green, the limpets rasping the seaweed spallings from the rock, while the tide is high in the blue salt blue. And the old stingwinkle, a cannibal snail, ivory with age, drags herself over the rocks on her stomach, looking for her prey, climbs aboard a purple top shell and begins to drill in the green, salt green. And the town yawns and comes downstairs and eats its cornflakes. On the tables in 1,000 houses, the breakfast cockerel crows with the milk and the newspapers. But at the guest house, the tables are laid, and there's grapefruit on the menu, and the old stingwinkle is charging us extra for it. She's so jolly. Comes from Birmingham, almost a cannibal. The tourists come from Birmingham. Down in the depths, the old stingwinkle is drilling the purple top shell, making the first circular scar, cutting the first crescents of mother of pearl in the pretty thing. And if in the end you feel like an empty shell, you'll know why. 8 o'clock, up on the hill, another monster comes to life. Old Yellowbelly, coughing and spluttering, choking out acrid fumes, the cement mixer, and concrete eats another acre. Retiring people, hungry for sea views, bite into the landscape with bungalows, greedy to feast their eyes on the sea, chew into the skyline with boxes of picture windows, spreading them around the perimeter of the town on all the high vantage places, the windows winking obscenely in the light of the sun. And behind the double glazing, the old eyes stare from the comfort of their tapestry armchair, unaware of what they've done, blissfully unaware. They gaze in wonder at all that water, stare at the wonder of all that ocean. And the old stingwinkle is drilling the purple tops, yeah. 9 o'clock. Round the harbour, gulls and women. The gulls, women for cackling. The women, gulls for gossip. Screaming the morning scandal, half digested, fight over a smelly titbit. You must have heard them. Another party, 2 in the morning. Couples all over the floor. Orgy. More women come flapping. See her? She has a guts in her beak, screams. The policeman saw them. 20 unblinking golden eyes. 10 beaks poised to peck. Making love by the dustbins. Coarse cackle over the town. Scavenging gulls enjoy the dustbins. Not a stitch on. The bugger. And up they go, grey wings whirling, white wings flapping, wheeling and screaming over the town, grey and white, white and grey, leaving their droppings on the roofs, and the women flap, flap to the shops, hungry for an audience. From up here, gliding and sliding on currents of air, things look different. You can see the town spread out like a map, and people are rather reduced in size. In a house down there lives a bugger. This morning, playing Dylan, he empties his ashtrays. Playing Dylan, he collects up the bottles in the sweet sick haze at 11:30, a shambling wreck of himself, endlessly drinking black coffee and dreaming, dreaming, dreaming of how they made love on the grass hanky in the backyard with a honeysuckle under the moon. All day in this window overlooking the bay, an artist paints simple geometry, drinks sake and nibbles stale saffron buns. Outside, the sea doth the dance of 1,000 sequined suns and rocks red rubber dinghies in the harbour's arms, but he, the artist, dare not look. She, like a mad tachist, paints the whole bay with great splashes of ice blue and indigo, but he, the artist, dare not look. And in the deep dark by Smeaton's pier, she pours great pools of hooker's green, but he, the artist, has not seen. He stands, a starving man, in the bell mouth of a horn of plenty, with his back to all its riches. The sea sings in his ears. She caked his hair with salt spray, but he feasts his eyes on a single grey square. In a rock pool, a sea anemone, like a beautiful flower, devours a small fish. And on Smeaton, the visitor, in a white Panama, says, I too am, and sets up his easel, and Dad says, look how keen an artist. And they all go home to tea with the stingwinkle.